Hello, boys and girls. This is the last Ask Guillem of the year, and that's because after this one, I'm just gonna hide in a cave or in a castle up in a mountain, difficult to reach, to finish the Maradona book, which it's on its last kind of jobs. Got to do one last chapter at the end and change the introduction, and then we'll be done. But then a lot of editing too. So everything is expected to be delivered by the end of the year, so I need to focus on that. But the YouTube channel will have still a lot of action and things that I've been preparing for you that will be put out there in the next few days and weeks until I come back sometime at the beginning of January. I've asked you for, normally I send this tweet a couple of times, what you want to talk about, but this time only required one tweet out, and I got a lot of responses, a lot of people with very interesting questions, and we're going to try to deal with some of them. Sammy PerezOut is the first one. It says, any chance Madrid get a new president in 2021? I'm holding out hope that Perez steps down or lose the elections, but is it impossible for him to lose or step down? Another campaign against another president. Interesting. I hadn't heard of this one because if you look at what Florentino Perez has done for Real Madrid in the last decade or so, you think like things are going the right way. So it'd be interesting to hear if you, Sammy, if you want to tell us why you think Perez has to be out. I'm not judging. I'm just saying I like to hear that. Let's say that in Spain there's a tight control over the message, what comes out from the club, and also I feel that there is journalists that are protected by the club as well, which means that there is not a lot of criticisms towards the what Florentino Perez is doing for Real Madrid from the big media. You sense a little bit more in social media, but not a lot more. And for as long as they keep competing for the Champions League, especially, it seems like keeps fans quiet and happy. Or happy enough anyway. It's interesting that they got 3 titles in the last 9-10 years or more, and despite all that, I mean league titles, despite all that, it doesn't seem to me that there is a great opposition against Florentino Perez, so he will stay and remain as chairman of Real Madrid. Also, it's difficult to become a chairman. There's a lot of conditions that you have to put in, including guarantee of money and a certain amount of years that you've been a season ticket holder, which makes difficult, say, younger generations to be involved in the presidency. That's things that Florentino changed, perhaps, yes, to make it difficult to become a chairman. And what he's trying to fight with as well is the conversion of the club into a limited society, which will mean somebody coming in and buying the club. And he thinks that it's better for Real Madrid that he stays in charge and continues the same stability and path and economical policies that have meant that Real Madrid are a struggle like all the big clubs are, but perhaps not as much as others. In any case, they will have to cut wages soon. They will have to have a reality check in terms of how much money can come into the club, which will affect how much money it will go out in signings, for instance. So I don't see Mbappe and Haaland being signed on the same year, perhaps. Not perhaps, I don't think that's possible. But we will see. With Florentino Perez, you don't know, you never know. But quite clearly, there's not enough money there to get those 2 signings. And the idea is, of course, to get Mbappe as soon as next summer, if possible. He'll have 1 year left in his contract with PSG. Subarayit is saying, can someone clarify what did Guillem say? I don't have La Liga TV in my country. This is about Riqui Puig. I said that I don't understand why there is such a good press about Riqui Puig. It's not a bad player. He's been put out there as the solution to all the problems. And what that suggests to me is that there is not a good analysis of the situation of Barcelona. If you think that one player can sort things out, you just don't know what's happening at Barcelona. And certainly Riqui Puig, who has had 3 managers keeping an eye on him, seeing him in training every day, and do not see the possibility of him being a big solution or one of the big solutions of Barcelona, that should tell you a lot. a lot of people, when in a time of crisis, hang on to things just because they have faith in it, not because they've seen enough. They have faith in it. Riqui Puig is one of those cases. There are other questions about Riqui Puig, which I'm going to recover, and then we can take it from there. Dinesh Rihal is saying, is it really true that some senior players in dressing room are upset with Puig and don't want him to play? I never heard that, but quite clearly, he seems to have been a little bit, what's the word, one or two steps ahead. As in, perhaps he's got too much confidence in his possibilities when he actually hasn't shown anything. And that doesn't tend to go down well in this changing room, in the Barcelona changing room. So to be a little bit too cocky or arrogant or believe too much in you is something that gets pushed down very quickly if you don't have the value necessary to back it up. So for instance, Pedri can do no wrong. Riqui Puig is one that not only players are questioning, the manager himself, according to El País, said to him in front of everybody else, you are leaking stories. So a lot of, we'll have to find a balance between the excessive good press and which at the beginning was used to have a go at Valverde and Quique Setién. Why is he not playing? Was another way of saying these managers are not good enough. To now, where everybody seems to wanting to kill him. I just think that he'll find his way, but he's been invited to leave the club to, go somewhere where he can play, and he's like, no, I'm good enough to play for Barcelona, but he's not. He's not right now. He needs to actually come down to earth. Yes, the physicality is an aspect that he can improve on. When he comes in, remember, it tends to be at the end of games where everybody's tired, there is more possibilities and looks bright, but still not to start a game for Barcelona. What else we've got? Mr. Crispetes say, if you were the person in charge of signing and selling Barcelona's players for the next season, what would you do? What plan do you think Barcelona should follow? For me, and I said this on Catalan television, and it created a little bit of a debate, there is two options for Barcelona. They either sell the club, and you say that is heresy at Barcelona. You sell the club, bring people with a lot of money, then they can compete with PSG and Manchester City and Manchester United in the market. Or if you don't want to do that because it kills an identity that obviously Barcelona fans and directors are very proud of, then it's some players that you can bring that can add quality, mostly players from La Masia, but you cannot compete at the level that you've done in the last decade. For me, it's as simple as that. After I said that, there are some top candidates that came back to me, three of them saying, no, you're wrong, we can do both, we can do Masia and compete. Time will tell. I just don't see it. I simply don't see it. The financial situation of Barcelona is so bad, with a debt that says over 900 million euros. And even though there has been an agreement with the players to actually reduce the wages, we're still talking about a situation so bad that Barcelona may not even have the money to get maybe Eric Garcia if he decides to come at the end of his contract, but Depay, they may not even have 25-30 million euros for Depay unless they sell. And then of course selling is, you know what could happen. Leo Messi still thinking of leaving. And if he doesn't eventually, it's because somebody will change his mind, the new chairman will change his mind. But right now, in his mind, it's all about leaving. That, of course, some are saying, Emile Rousseau, for instance, one of the candidates, that Barcelona cannot afford the wages of Messi. Interestingly enough, that's been turned against Messi. Almost like invited to be pushed away, invited to leave the club almost by certain quarters. But you have to wonder why anybody gave him a club that kind of wage if he cannot be afforded by the club in the long term. And I know it's not just down to the pandemic. It is not down to the pandemic. It's bad management, and that, of course, now has got a price to pay. So Messi leaving will mean 100 million euros gross that will go into the box to pay the wages. If he goes, there'll be others coming, and it will be others of quality. But it's 2 or 3 years where Barcelona will have to find a way, and you hope that it's the right one. And I think it should go via La Masia, but unable to compete at the highest level in Europe. Patrick is asking, is Laporta the front runner to win the elections? And if he gets elected, who would he choose as a manager if he wins and sacks Koeman? There is another question on that. Wayark is saying, what's the situation in Barcelona regarding the election and who is currently leading? You said that Laporta and Fora are the favourites, but don't you think Laporta has an edge? Due to his experience in the eyes of the socios, the season ticket holders, does Font stand a chance? Well, I I stick to this idea that Font and Laporta are favourites, but Laporta well ahead. There's been polls that the candidates have done, and the club as well, in terms of recognition from the fans. Not so much what they think of the candidates, but do they know them? And I think Victor Font was surprised that his number was quite low. We're talking about 30% recognition. Laporta, of course, is much, much higher. And that will, it seems, work in the favour of Laporta. But let's see, because when we've got the candidates, because right now they are just pre-candidates, one they made the first cut, one they got enough signatures to become candidates themselves, then the picture will become clearer, including the possibility of some joining forces. Victor Font and Laporta saying they won't join forces. Or Victor Font is saying, Laporta, you can join us, but we've got a plan, you have to stick to that plan. So still things to be arranged. And who will be chosen as a manager? He hasn't said Laporta. We know that he likes Xavi. Obviously, let's see what Koeman does, and that's why Laporta is not kind of implicating himself, talking about the future of Koeman. He deserves all the respect because he's a legend of the club, and there is no more coming from the Laporta camp in terms of who will be in charge. But there is a plan, a football plan that goes back to some of the essence that made them win. So I don't think Koeman will be in charge of the club if Laporta becomes the chairman. Damien Maguire says, how long do you think it will be before we see Koeman's Barcelona? He's trying to find it himself. There's not enough training to put principles of play in play. It's all about playing and rest, and then choosing the best 11, hoping it works, depending on the rival and the form of the players. But we've seen, for instance, that having preferred 4-2-3-1, but still sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. He went back for 45 minutes, 50 minutes to 4-3-3 at the weekend. Let's see what happens in midweek. There is another game, 2 games at home, Real Sociedad and Valencia, and if the return to the 4-3-3 is going to be he's going to stick to it. I believe Barcelona play better with 4-3-3. It benefits Messi, it benefits certainly Pedri, it benefits the fullbacks. I think it's a lot to go in favour of it, but it doesn't benefit the like of Griezmann, who I'm sure prefers 4-2-3-1, but he can play the number 10 role, exchanging places with Messi or whoever is also Pedri or Coutinho on the left hand side. So that's the balance that Koeman has to do with the players he's got. This has not been a team built properly in the sense that they didn't have a clear idea where they were going. A lot of it had to do with financial reasons, like the swap of Pjanic for Artur Melo, and now you're paying the consequences of that. And the last one, Son of the Soil says, is Arteta a goner? I think fans, number one, they don't have enough information about what happens with a club, with a team. Number two, imagine if a fan that once the manager's gone every now and again, every year or so, was in charge of the club. Can you imagine for a second? Players being sacked and managers coming in and out, and that's got financial implications, If you don't like what you see, then you have to get rid of a manager, bring another one. It's not easy. Plus, I don't see any FC campaigns, Bartomeu out and Koeman out. No, we haven't got to that one yet. But Quique Setién out and Valverde out and Arteta out and all that. I don't see campaigns for stability, which is what brings the maximization of the potential of a club, if it's in the right hands. Is Arsenal in the right hands? For me, absolutely. Is anybody pushing for stability? Certainly not the fans. Certainly not the media, who of course feed from stories of discontent, etc. It's not their role to do that anyway. But I think there is a quiet majority that are not on social media perhaps, that I think they appreciate the fact that stability, which Edu has already spoke about, is the way forward. You've got a manager, yes, a lot of it he's learning in the process, but he's one of you, and he wants the best for the club, and he sees the players. He's got an idea what he wants. He's convinced the club that's the idea to go on with, and you have to give him time to implement that. I'm preparing a story for the BBC webpage on what I think it's happening there in terms of why it's taking so long for things to be implemented. I'll give you more clues there, but certainly StabilityIn for me. Anybody wants to start that hashtag? Anyway, time to rest. Today, there are things to do, but rest from the day-to-day, if you like, and put all my energy and work into finishing a book that I hope at some point you'll enjoy and get. It's out there already. It's in Amazon, and we're still trying to deliver what the best cover is and the title. I think I've got the title now, and I'll share that with you at some point. Okay. See you soon. Remember, there's new episodes of the podcast, the Pure Football podcast. Of course, the YouTube channel, as I say, will continue with new stuff, which I won't advance, but it's being prepared. And that's it. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Bye.